Okay, another thing that I'm going to show you with text today is we have a text fade. This is real simple. It's not real hard at all. But what I'm going to do is show you some options that we can play with when we're working with text. I get this all the time. How do I bring text in that's, you can't see it and it's fading and moving and it's doing a couple things all at the same time? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a background so that we can see our text, because sometimes we're getting kind of tired of working with white. So I'm just going to come over here. Let's see, I'm going to grab this background, and this is kind of going to be an exercise in the background too. For some reason this is tough for some students. This background, oops, I don't want to do two of those, I only want to do one. I'm going to make this bigger. I don't want it to be a radio background, and I don't necessarily want it, I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger, and you'll see why in a minute. And I don't necessarily want it to be this linear. You'll see this linear. I'm going to come in here, grab this, and I'm going to place another. All I have to do is click here. And what I have is I have my color mixer open. Okay, and if you don't have that, go to Window and you can click on Color Mixer and it'll open for you. I get this slider here, which is my gradient slider, and what I've done is I just clicked. You can click and put as many of these on here as you want, and the black dot means that's the one that's active, that if you're going to change colors, that's the color it's going to change. I can get rid of these just by pulling them off. Oops, I didn't even do that yet. I'm going to leave this blue one here because you'll see in a minute, and then I'm going to click on this one, and I want to change that to say gray. I think I want to change this one to gray too, so it's not quite so black. Though I just realized that I need to go back in and do this again because I didn't have my gradients selected here. I'm going to grab one more there. Go here, double click, select gray. I'm going to double click this one. Oops. And select a gray there too, so that changes like that. I also want to change the way this looks, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, grab my free transform tool, and I'm just going to rotate this like that so that it doesn't look straight up and down. We want it to look a little different. I'm also going to grab this and make it a little larger because I'm going to come in a minute and I'm actually going to cut this down. I don't want it to look like this, but I'm going to trim it down. Okay, so now I'm just going to come up here, grab this, come off to the side, and trim this. Oh, we need to break it apart first. Alright, it's broken apart. Now I'm just going to come back in here, and I'm going to grab this like that. I'm going to come in, whoops, let's try this one again. Come in, grab it like this. Once I have this selected, I want to go ahead and group this. So now what I have are three pieces. I have this piece, and this piece. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to get rid of that piece. I'm going to grab this piece and get rid of that. And now I'm going to pull this off a little bit so I can resize this so that it fits over my stage. And I'm just going to come over here and play a little bit, get it to resize, and boom, there you go. So what I have now is I've angled my gradient, because one of the things that it doesn't allow you to do, it gives you a linear gradient and a radial gradient, but it doesn't give you an angular gradient. So what I did was I went ahead and changed this. I can play with my alphas if I think it's too light or not bright enough or something. I'm not affecting anything except this gradient in here. To affect this gradient, I need to select it and play with it. Okay, so I'm not going to worry too much about it quite yet. Okay, so I'm going to lock this layer down. This is my background, so I'm just going to say background. Now we're going to add a layer for text. We're going to actually come in here and we're going to put some text in. I want to go in first, though. Let's go ahead and put some frames in here. I'm going to right mouse click, insert frames, and on the first frame, since we can't work in the first background layer, we're going to work on the second layer. I'm going to come over here, grab some text, and I'm going to type some text. I'm going to say Hartnell College. Let's see how that looks. Gray works good. If I'm not happy with it, open up that property window right there and, make some changes. Close your actions. If you're not happy with the gray, or if it's too hard to see, or there's issues with readability, just go in and click that, select that text again, and let's make it white, because on this kind of a background we want it to look pretty. Alright, good. So we have Hartnell College. Let's put some more text on here. I'm going to put my last name. And let's resize this just a little bit. There we go. And finally, I'm going to come in here, and I'm not too worried about spacing yet, so don't sweat that yet. I'm going to come in here and type in CSS 127 Flash. Okay? So now what we have are three separate pieces of text. I'm going to come in, select all of these, and then I'm going to open my alignment window. Just go to Window and hit Align, and you'll get this little window over here. I don't want it to align to the stage, so I'm going to make sure that that's unselected. And what I want to do is I want to right align it here so that it's all aligned together here, and then we want to equally space it out. Okay, and if you don't know what's going on here, just look at your spacing. We can space everything evenly vertically or horizontally. Let's pick vertically, obviously. So what it's going to do is space these evenly, okay, between the three items. Not to the stage, only amongst these three. So this one stays and they evenly space. You'll notice this one dropped down, this one came up, and now they're evenly spaced. So now I'm going to grab them and drop them off to the side here. Now this works great if you've got a header or if you've got some text, even a graphic. Okay, these items all work great. So you don't have to worry about what kind of item you're using, and I'll tell you why in a minute, because we're going to treat the text as a symbol. We're not going to be able to move it around if we don't treat it as a symbol. Okay? Okay, so they're all selected. Keep them selected. You want to make sure that they're still selected, because what we're going to do now is a really cool thing that Flash can do. I want you to hold the Shift, the Control, and hit D. And what that does is notice that it distributes all of the options that you had selected, or all the items that you selected, onto their own layers. Man, this is great for us. I can probably think of 25 different ways to use this option when we're creating things. We've got this big screen and we want to, we're creating a face, or we have whatever. We are taking all of these things and putting them on their own layers. And what would happen if these layers didn't have text? And notice right here, it distributed the text as well. So it put Hartnell on its own layer, it put it on the bottom because it's on the top, Svensson in the middle, and then Flash. And we still have those other layers. Whoops. We still have those other layers over here that we originally started with. It took them off layer 2 and distributed them. This is a great option for us because one of the things that we don't want to have to do is copy, paste center, copy, paste location, because it also kept its location. We set it up the way we wanted it. Then we said, okay, now we need you to distribute those layers because we can't have multiple tweening on one layer. You can only tween one item on one layer at a time. That's just the way Flash is. It doesn't work any other way. Sorry. Most of you who are pretty in-depth Flash users know that. So this is just one of those things that makes it really great for us. Because whenever we're working with animation, especially if we're working with a walk cycle, or we're working with running, or we're animating multiple objects on a face, say your ears, your eyes, your mouth, your nose, your tongue, when we can distribute those, we can create the image. As long as we take each of those pieces and distribute it to their own layer, then we can animate each piece on its own layer. So this is a great option for us, and if you didn't know about it, you learned something really great today. Okay, the other thing we need to know is that we cannot manipulate the text. We have to turn it into a symbol. We can only tween symbols. We cannot tween text. It's just the way it is, kids. Okay, so I'm going to go to convert to symbol, and I can turn it into a graphic, I can turn it into a movie clip. If, you know, this is kind of one of those things, sometimes it doesn't hurt to just turn it into a movie clip in case later you get a bright idea that you want to take that, maybe that Hartnell College logo or text, and turn it into a logo that does something. Remember, if you've looked at the blurred tutorials, you can, you know, achieve blur with them and things like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just call this Hartnell or Hartnell title. You can make it title, you can make it whatever you want. I'm going to hit OK. This one I'm going to modify, convert to symbol, same thing. I'm going to say instructor. And then this one I'm just going to say course. Hit OK. So now all of these are in their final position. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to come in here. Whoops, let's slip back out, Control Z. Pay attention to what we're doing because we do not want to lose anything. What ended up happening is I ended up putting this under this, and we just don't want to do that. Okay, so click out, click back in, and just get these three symbols right here, right mouse click, and insert a keyframe. So what we did is we just selected these three single frames in the timeline. We right mouse clicked, and we hit insert keyframe. Okay. Now we are going to play with these frames right here all together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click out, grab all of these, and I'm going to move them all together, hold the shift key down, and I'm just going to move them off the stage to here. I like when we can do multiple objects like that because the nice part of this is I don't have to do it 3 separate times. As long as they're selected, I can manipulate them all at the same time. That includes messing with our alpha colors. So that's what we're going to do here is we're going to go to alpha and we're going to go to 0. So what we see is here's the timeline. Here's nothing, and here the text comes on. Now we want to tween it. So all we're going to do is we're going to click a frame in the middle, right mouse click, create motion tween, and it creates the motion tween for all of them. How fantastic is that? Okay, so now let's scrub the timeline and look to see what's happening. Here we are, we're coming in, the college gets, there we go, and finally in its final resting place, there it is. Let's look at this, Control Enter, see what it looks like. So what do you notice that we have to do right off the bat? You bet, our typical stop action. So I'm just going to come up here, go to layer 2, change it to actions, come over here, insert. Now we don't want to put the stop action on the front, we don't want to stop it from playing, we want to put the stop action down here. Insert blank keyframe, go to our actions and type in stop, terminate. Let's play now. Control Enter, and here's our flash movie, and boom. So obviously this is very long, so I think I'm going to go ahead and grab all of these, click out, I'm going to grab all these, and I'm actually just going to move them down so that happens a little quicker. Okay, Control Enter, boom, there it goes. So if you wanted it to bounce a little, I'm sure you could figure that out. It's pretty easy. We would put another keyframe in here, we'd put a couple of keyframes in here and bounce it so that it looks like it's bouncing against the edge here. If you don't like the positioning of these objects, one of the things that you can do is hold the shift key down, move them up so that you're, click out, just kind of move that. Notice how we get a centering line, or our little line here gives us the ability to go up and say, oh look, you're really close now, here you are. Okay, and then we're going to grab all of these and just move them up. Now if you don't like the size of the text, remember what we can do here is change that. We're not, you know, stuck here in Hartnell title. We can always come in here at Hartnell title and make that smaller. I just wanted to make it big enough so that you could go in and see oops, I just wanted to make it big enough so that you could come in here and see what it looks like. So we had a pretty good visual on size. Oh, darn it. Let's go back in, select it, and come down here. Okay, and that's 24. So we're obviously going to want to change all of these. You don't want to just change one without really changing all of them. So, and that's why I looked in there to see what size that was. Good. And we'll clear out of there. And this will be good for you because this will allow you to practice your resizing and your alignments. And it gives you the idea to know that this isn't cast in stone. I mean, we surely can come in here and we're going to grab these, grab them all, and then line them up. Let's see, where are we? Here we go. Line them that way, and then we'll line them this way. And again, I can probably nudge those up. I can use my arrow keys if I want, and do the same thing here. Eyeball it, and if I really don't want to eyeball it, I can just click on it, and remember, I'll get those guides, those little dash lines that pop up. Okay, so if this were my website now, oh, here we have this big thing. Now, one of the things that we didn't do when we did this is we created our final product. Notice what's happening as we come out. The text is, location is different, so when it throws, when it comes back in. Now, what did happen? This, when we played with the image here, it readjusted itself over here. Remember, we had this real big text on this side. It made it smaller here as well because we are using the same image or the same movie clip, has the same properties. So it changed from being really large to really small here. But notice what happened. We didn't change locations. We said, oh, you're over here, and as it starts to come in, if we want, we can play with this one right here and just kind of move it over. And we could do the same thing. You know, we could select all of these, in fact. Just come in here, select all these, and say, yeah, we want you to line them up to the right, off each other. You know, whichever one's furthest out, we want you to line it up on that. And then as we work as we work that graphic, notice how it comes into its location. So not only is it alpha tweening, but it's motion tweening as well, in two different ways. It's coming from left to right, and in the one case, this image is coming all the way from down here up to its new location. So it's coming left to right, bottom to top, and an alpha tween. So we've got three things happening for each one of these. So hopefully you get the idea. Now if you wanted to go in and just kind of throw a horizontal rule in here, we could come in here, throw a little something something in there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this into, let's see, let's get a radial, let's do a linear. Let's see how that looks. And again, remember, I can change this radial again. One of the nice things about doing that is if I come up here, I'm going to actually rotate this radial gradient. Oh wait, let's do one little thing first. I'm going to come in here, grab this. I want to be able to really look inside there, and I'm going to grab this. If I change this, notice I can skew that if I want. The other thing that I can do is we can go in and play with our little radial gradients. Remember how we went in and played with it before? This is not going to be our friend. That's not what we're looking for, actually. So I want you to really look at this because I'm coming in. So what I'm going to do, I made this a little bigger so we could see it. And I want to come over here, and this is the gradient transform tool. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually come in here. I'm not going to make it bigger. I'm going to reduce my gradient this way, and then I'm going to come here and rotate it like this. Hold your shift key down so you get it like that. So now what I've done is I've actually just kind of come in here And I'm playing now with my gradient so I get this kind of look in it. And remember, if I'm not real happy with these gradients, I can add more. I can take one away if I want to come in here and add a white to that. Notice I can do that. Be real careful though, because when you start playing with the multiples like this, one of the things that you want to recognize is how quickly you can really change these looks in here. Okay, so these are some of the areas that you can experiment with, kind of see what it is you like. Let's look at that and see how that looks. Go back to scene one. I think you get the idea. One of the things that you really want to look at is how we're going to affect the gradient, and does that gradient work with us? Actually, I think I'd rather have this gray gradient. So let's kind of come in here and look at that. I'm going to pull that off, and let's pull this off, and let's turn it into this. And now we can obviously come in here and resize this little puppy, because we don't need it that gosh darn big. And here we go. So these are some of those fun things. Again, here's where it comes in right here. Notice that I have this right here. I'm going to take that off. I don't want it right there. I'm going to hit X, and I'm going to come right here. I'm going to hit paste in place where I had it before, and I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to clear that keyframe right there. So now what I have is this. So let's look at that. Control Enter, and boom. And then anything you have navigation wise or pictures or whatever you can put under here. Again, this is completely up to you. You could put a frame all the way around this. I mean, the possibilities are endless on what you can do with this. But I wanted to give you an idea of how you can take text and fade it in and then dress up your website, so to speak. Alright, if you have any questions, give me a call. If you have any, or you want to give me an email or come by and see me, that'd be great. I hope you like this tutorial, and follow the assignment on your class webpage.